News to You is back on midday after a holiday break, and today we look back at the infamous Bass Pro project, the unforgettable story of Nancy and Tanya, and a landmark opens in Niagara Falls. Those stories and more made headlines this very week and decades past. Dave McKinley looks back to when it was all news to you.
10 years ago this week, we had ourselves a blizzard, the first in nearly 20 years in these parts, at least as defined by the National Weather Service, after which there wouldn't be another for nearly 9 more years, which came in late 2022. 20 years ago this week.
I'm pleased to announce today that Bass Pro has formally indicated its desire to locate a multi-million-dollar flagship center in downtown Buffalo.
The concept of turning the old aunt into a giant sporting goods store would be a fish that would stay on the line for 6 years before it got off the hook, and Bass Pro became a euphemism in Buffalo for pie-in-the-sky development projects that couldn't be landed. After 3 seasons of futility, Greg Williams was out as coach of the Bills, and after considering several candidates, the team settled on this fellow, who's the subject of this week's News to You pop quiz, which is who succeeded Greg Williams as coach of the Bills, and who, by the way, didn't fare much better, and whose tenure would be even shorter than his predecessors. Remember, this was back when 2 rovers named Spirit and Opportunity landed on Mars and began several years' worth of sending heretofore undreamed of pictures and data from the red planet at about the same time when President Bush was talking about even bigger plans.
Already on a Cape Canaveral launch pad stands a rocket that would play a central role in America's next mission to the moon, a mission to build a base and stay if reports about the president's intentions are accurate.
Still waiting on that one, which sort of went the way of the Bass Pro. 30 years ago this week. Twas the clubbing heard round the world, and television audiences were glued to their screens regarding the attack on figure skater Nancy Kerrigan and the investigation which began to focus on her arch-rival in the sport,
Tanya Harding,
and her husband,
Jeff Gilhooly.
That would be Gilhooly.
I hope that they catch the person that did it.
Oh, they would, and eventually Harding, her husband, her bodyguard, and another man hired to do the deed would all go down for being part of the conspiracy and failed plot to keep Kerrigan out of the Olympics, which unfolded this week in 1994. 40 years ago this week.
Please be patient. Please be patient.
The economy was so bad in Buffalo, the jobless rate so high, that 9,000 people applied for work at the soon-to-be-opened Hyatt Regency Hotel downtown. That was 18 times as many applicants for the 500 jobs available, starting at $3.35 an hour.
I've been out of work for 18 months. My last job was Westinghouse, and there's no jobs around, so if it takes me all day to put in an application, I'll do it.
The Friends of the Canadiana held their inaugural meeting. Successful in bringing the Crystal Beach boat back to Buffalo, they could not complete their goal to restore it before it was cut up for scrap 20 years later. And a new law went into effect in Buffalo requiring smoke detectors in all homes this week in 1984, 50 years ago this week.
They called it Super Saturday 74.
When the Niagara Falls Convention and Civic Center opened and a crowd of 10,000 came to see the first event ever held there, a basketball game between Canisius and Niagara. Over the next 28 years, it would host everything from beauty pageants to concerts to dog shows, rodeos, presidents, circuses, monster trucks, and bowling tournaments before it closed in 2002 and was converted into what you now know as the Seneca Niagara Casino, back in the days when this was all news to you.
Thank you, Dave. So here is the answer to this week's News to You pop quiz. It was Mike Mularkey who was picked to replace Greg Williams as the coach of the Bills 20 years ago in 2004. Mularkey's tenure would be short, only 2 seasons in which the team posted 14 wins and 18 losses, and also continued its lengthy run of missing the playoffs. I like that he went back 50 years this
That's
time,
awesome.
Patrick. That was
That's
great.
awesome.